Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome in. I'm excited for our show today. We have a very special guest. This is episode 31. We're calling it When Awakening Meets Authority. We're going to look at how spiritual transformation reshapes leadership, work, and decision-making. I'm Donna Bond. You're watching Spiritual Ambition, where women tune in to awaken their divine nature. Today, we're going to explore a question that I hear from a lot of women in my community. What happens when our spiritual awakening collides with our professional life in the boardroom? And we begin to realize that we can no longer lead and work or even make decisions in the same way that we used to. When you've done some inner work and you're starting to break free from the grip of the physical world belief systems, and you have a stronger knowing, and a knowing, not a belief, but a knowing that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, these are signs that you're in the process of an awakening. And your consciousness is expanding. You're starting to see through old structures. You're starting to be sensitive to energy. You're receiving intuitive downloads about decisions that you have to make. And you might be experiencing that inner collision, that business as usual now feels misaligned, when all you want to do is let your soul lead your life. And here's the truth. Nobody is talking about how spiritual awakening doesn't necessarily come with a manual for navigating professional life. And that's why it's such a blessing that there are women out there, like my guest today, Pamela Downs, and myself, who have actually moved our way through this process. You know, we begin to learn to trust that inner guidance, and at the same time, we can still meet our quarterly targets, or we begin to honor what we know energetically while we're sitting across from people at the table who are still only trusting the facts that are on a spreadsheet. We're being called to lead from love in a world that is still operating based on fear. So how do we do it? How do we navigate our awakened awareness in our work, in these professional settings, without losing our credibility, our livelihood, or our minds? My guest today knows this journey intimately. Pamela Downs is a creative intuitive and a trance channeler who founded Spirit Calling after her own profound awakening. She's navigated the messy, beautiful intersection of spiritual transformation and real world responsibility. She knows how to make fearless choices, how to trust divine guidance, and how to follow the lead from her highest knowing. Today, Pamela and I are going to go deep into the questions that you've been asking. How do you show up in your old world after what feels like a new beginning, a new awakening? How do you honor your intuitive knowing in a professional setting? And what does conscious leadership actually look like as you begin to become spiritually aligned? If you're navigating this important intersection in your life, this conversation is for you. So don't go away. We're going to start our episode as we always do, calling in the light. I'm going to invite you wherever you are. Just close your eyes gently and attune yourself to the field, to the one mind, to the greater consciousness. Infinite universe, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, imbalance, any distress, discomfort, dis-ease, constriction, contraction, false notion, limiting ideas, old storylines, any energy or vibrational frequency that is vibrating at anything less than the frequency of divine loving, we ask that all of that just now be lifted and transmuted, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness. Into this space, we recognize grace and peace and light and love. We acknowledge and we welcome only those divine beings of light who love each one of us unconditionally, keeping in mind each of our unique destinies. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart that will resonate most profoundly with each individual here for their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. We are so grateful for the opportunity to come together and do this work. For this and more, we say thank you. So be it. Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome, everyone. Say hello to everybody in the chat. Carmen, Michelle, Patrick, hello, welcome. Jennifer, McCormick, welcome back. Labyrinthia, Criterion. Oh, I said it. What do you know? Carmen, welcome. We have Pamela Downs backstage. Before we bring her out, we're going to read her bio and share a little bit more about her. But we're going to start with our sacred circle of light. This is one of our most sacred practices that we do together. Each episode, our community joins our hearts, and we intentionally send healing energy and divine love around the planet to those who need it most. So if you know someone who is struggling with health challenges or facing difficult decisions or simply needs some extra support right now, we believe in the power of our loving collective intention to uplift and strengthen those that we care about and those that we put our loving intention with. So if someone that you know could benefit from healing grace and divine light, you're invited to share their name with us. You can either drop it in the chat right now, or you can have them submitted into our sacred container by going to spiritualambition.sacredlight.com, and you can just share their name with us, and we hold them in our sacred container. Today, we're going to send light out around the globe to Katie, Nadia, to Cassie, to Sophia, to Cassidy, to Betty, Nicole, to Bob, to Gregory, to Beth, and anyone else whose name you want to drop in the chat. And we'll just take a moment in this time, just sending our light and loving, knowing the power of prayer, the power of our intentions, and the power of our light. Beautiful. Thank you. Welcome, Wendy. Presh, thank you. Hello, Dolores. Welcome in. Hi, Carmen, Diana, Non. Welcome. So good to have you with us. All right. Well, when we have a spiritual awakening, it changes us, changes how we see, how we sense, how we know. But it can be challenging when we're evolving, but our professional life, our work life, hasn't evolved with us. How do we lead from intuition, from that wisdom filled, soul aligned inner knowingness in environments that are still only valuing logic and metrics? And I hate to say it, but fear based decision making. This is what we're going to look at today with my very special guest, Pamela Downs, who is the visionary founder of Spirit Calling. She's a creative intuitive and a trance channeler who guides individuals through spiritual awakening with wisdom from the great council of light. Following her own profound awakening, sparked by her father's passing, Pamela navigated shamanic journeys, Reiki healing, Akashic records, and an ayahuasca experience at Rhythmia that heightened her psychic abilities and awakened all of her clairsenses in a flash. After receiving a divine vision in 2020 to create a portal for humankind, she founded Spirit Calling, a thriving community offering classes, channeled guidance, and healing tools. Pamela's journey from corporate conformity to spiritual sovereignty makes her the perfect guide for those integrating their awakening into professional life. And we have so much in common. I too am meeting Pamela for the first time, and it is my honor and privilege to just welcome her to the stage here on Spiritual Ambition.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, friend. How are you?
Oh, I feel like we've known each other for a long, long time, Pamela.
So we remember each other. That's what happens, right?
That's what happens, right? Well, welcome to Spiritual Ambition. It's so lovely to have you here with us.
Thank
My
you.
first question, right off the bat, tell us your story. You had like a really profound awakening after your father's passing.
Yeah.
Share about what happened with that and like what was going on in your professional world at the time. And how did you first navigate this big collision?
Oh my gosh. The big collision is so great because it is. I was just talking on Instagram Live, talking about the spiritual awakening journey and how it is. It does feel like a collision. There's so many different things, so many different pieces moving at the same time and expanding your, experience on planet Earth, your experience in your life, your experience with your relationship, with spirit, with your work, right? You introduced me as a creative intuitive. So I grew up very immersed in art and music. And with that, which I didn't really understand about myself, hello, everybody. I was an empath. I still am a super feeler, very, very sensitive. And I used to feel other people's energy very strongly. I didn't understand what that was. And I could go to see live music and the violins would just make me start crying immediately. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. Yes. Those high strings, they just like break you wide open. But that's literally when you don't understand who you are, when you haven't remembered yourself yet, and you're navigating all of these pieces of yourself and you're on your journey. Sometimes your perspective, I always talk about like you start poking holes in your reality. So there's like a little crack and you're seeing something new there and you want to explore it and dive in and kind of see what else is there. And then before you know it, you've got this whole new image of your reality before you. And yeah, my dad's passing was a part of that. There were multiple things happening at the same time. I was looking at the religion that I was brought up in, with some holes poked in it. And I was saying, does this resonate with me? Is this really what I want to bring to my children? Do I believe in this? And I was watching my world change as the recession was happening. And, we went through a really difficult time, as many did during that time, of losing everything that we had. And my marriage was, having challenges, and I had my own business, and I was going through all of the things, all these plates changing all around me. And with those shifts, and I call them, I called it at the time, I knockdown. Some people have near-death experiences. Some people have, something else that happens to them. I lost my identity. I lost my identity. I lost I didn't understand the religion, so I just stopped that. I lost everything that I owned, all the things that I thought that made me who I was. And I started remembering myself and kind of painting that picture of who I was. And then you talk about, how do you show up in business and how do you show up in this? It's like you have to kind of reestablish all those connections and repaint them. With my creative intuitiveness, with my ability to connect very easily with people through my entrepreneurship, I just let that sort of lead me. And I started to understand that difference between love and fear, and allowing myself to continually pull on that thread of love to be at the present part of who I was, and to not let fear hold me back. And I started seeing that, there were pieces and parts and programs and zip codes and, all the things that I really didn't want to be a part of anymore. And I wanted purpose. I wanted love. I wanted resonance. I wanted something that felt so good to me in every piece of that pie of my life. And when my father
Pamela,
died,
I want to play this back to you.
Yes.
I wanted purpose, and I wanted presence, and I wanted love. And if this resonates with anyone who is tuned into us and watching now, just put a little XO in the chat, right? Like this is what everyone wants. It's really what everyone wants, but not everyone is courageous enough to follow that call.
Yeah, they're not.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just it was just a beautiful, resonant moment to invite everybody into. Yeah.
And it is. And you don't know you need that until you know. It's just like anything else, right? You don't know the feeling and the understanding of it until you know. And you get these opportunities to discover that about yourself. And that's what happened. And with my father's, he lost his battle to alcohol. And I watched him, I was at a season in my life where I had children and I had mortgage and I had like all these things that at the time I could understand a little bit more about my father than I had previously. And when I saw him succumb to this disease, when I saw him become weak and fragile, and I saw his energy just kind of dissipate from his body, and I saw him pass. I wasn't spiritual. I was just starting to let my body have space to hear higher wisdom and to do yoga and stuff like that. But I remember like saying to myself, where did he go? Where did he go? Because he's not there.
Were you young?
I was about 37. I think I was about 37-ish, around there. And I remember saying, like, I just don't understand where my father went, because his body's here, but like the system that functioned him, like, where is it? And I was just talking about this. I started listening to the nudges. I started letting the love be present. I started making choices that were higher and better. I started allowing new people and concepts and experiences into my experience. And with that, I was getting in alignment with opportunities. And I got a ticket to a psychic medium gallery. And I had never been. And I wanted to go, but friends that I thought were my friends were making plans, and they didn't include me. And that kind of was like, I don't understand. I expressed my desire. Well, this ticket, fully paid, came to me. I had to say yes to it. And I was able to have the kids watched, and it was just smooth and effortless. And I walked into the psychic medium gallery. I walked front and center, sat down in the chair. And this man, who's a very good friend of mine to this day, who was my spiritual advisor or my community for about 10 years, came walking up, and he said, this is what we're going to do. He goes, for instance, I might come to you. And he goes, your father's here. And I was like, what the heck? And he said, your father died of liver, and it was alcohol. And I was blown away. And he said he never told you how talented you are. Now, I was a classical pianist and artist, and he never did. We didn't have that kind of relationship. I actually feared my father. I didn't feel that kind of love and father feeling, that other people had. And when that happened, Donna, it was like, there is life beyond this physical form. Like, there was just no denying it. And that just tore that little piece, wide open, and was giving me more passion and more desire to learn more and more and more.
Before that, leading up to that experience, which I have like almost a parallel experience also with my father and his passing, and a medium like saying, your father is here. But that's not what I want to ask you. Leading up to that and receiving that fully paid ticket to that experience, were there breadcrumbs along the way, Pamela, before that? And like, did you have interest in the spiritual arts and in mediumship? Say a little bit about that.
It just started, Donna. Like, that had just started. I had discovered Abraham Hicks. And I don't know how. I can't tell you how Abraham came into my experience, but Abraham did. And we lost our big house. It was terrible. And we found this little tiny house, and we were able to hold our house while the recession and the real estate market was, terrible, and everything was just sort of working out for us. And I would go on walks every morning. It's about 2008. Yep. 2008 to 2012 was like a huge
tracking the recession.
Yeah. It's like, right, exactly. And I would go walking every day in my little town. And I realized through Abraham that I was beating the drum of lack. I was beating that drum big time. I was talking about all the things that were going wrong, all the things that I didn't have anymore, all the things that were hard. And I was honestly, like, when I realized that, I went, oh my goodness, like, I have to stop that right now. I started flipping it upside down and saying, people would say, well, how's your husband? I used to say he lost his job. How are you? It's the recession. My business is slowed down. So instead I would say, I've maintained my business through recession. It's a miracle. Like, that's an amazing feat. And we were able to kind of ride our house a little bit. And we have this little, I used to call it my blessing house. And it was so small. I mean, I could take food out of the refrigerator and place it on the table. I don't know how all of us and my kids and my husband and my dog, we all fit in this little house, but it was a blessing. And I could walk my kids to school, and I could go and walk downtown and listen to my Abraham and feed my spirit. And through that, I found yoga. And through yoga, I found my breath. And through my breath, I found a space to allow my higher wisdom and my soul to speak to me, right? And universal energies to kind of align with me. And I started having nudges. I started having dreams. And my grandfather, who was an Italian shoemaker, would start coming to me with like visions of old shoes and like shoes that need to be repaired. And that was my grandfather. That was what he did. And I knew it was my papa. And then my father came to me on a can phone, and I remember him going, Daddy. And he was like, perm, perm. Like, they were the very, very beginnings of it. And like, you want to explore that, and you want to learn more about that. And I started having these flashes of something that was about to happen before my eyes. And like, one time I was coming back from a carpool, and all I wanted at the time on a Friday night was like a glass of white wine and to sit outside on my patio and just relax. And I had this image go like this. It was my husband opening the door with a glass of wine while the kids were leaving the station wagon. And that happened as soon as I pulled in the driveway. And I was like, these things were starting to like open up and show themselves to me. The very first thing that happened was, my friend said, I heard about a Reiki share. There's like 5 or 6 practitioners that work on someone at the same time. You just got to wait on a mat, 30-minute sessions. Would you want to do it? I was like, yeah. So I was the last one, and I always laugh. Thank God I was the last one, because if I had been the first one, everyone would have left. And I got on that table, and I had all of these Reiki practitioners working on me at the same time. And this swelling and welling of this energy started like forcing its way like a volcano out of my heart. And I started crying and howling. And it was, Pamela, you and I are so similar hearing. I love it. That's what I hear all the time. Every time I tell my story, I love it. And when I got off of the table, I had no idea what happened. And this woman ran over to me and she said, you're an empath. I mean, Donna, I didn't even know that I was an empath. I didn't even understand energy. I didn't understand my chakras. I didn't understand any of it. And I just kept allowing the universe to put the right person in front of me at the right time. And I started having these synchronicities, and people would say, "Would you like to do trade for services?" And I'd say, "Yeah, sure," because I could do that because I was just a solopreneur. I had a company, but I didn't have a business partner at the time. So I could pick and choose what I wanted to do. And I did trade with this woman. And she said, I would love to offer you this retreat down in Costa Rica. She left her corporate job in Manhattan. She was 30 under 30 sustainability expert. She did ayahuasca with the indigenous people, had this like knowing she was supposed to train in Reiki. I helped her launch her business. And she said, I'm doing a retreat down in Costa Rica. We could do it as part of your trade. And I was like, secretly, I wanted to do it, but I didn't ask. I was waiting for it to show up. But I didn't want to learn Reiki. I never wanted to be a practitioner, but I knew I was supposed to go. So I honored the knowing. And when I got there, I learned about me. I learned about my energy. I learned about my chakras. I learned about all of this, which was a lot, right? And at the end of that experience, we had the attunement. The same thing happened that happened with my heart chakra. I had a past life come through my throat. I was flung back with my neck. I was foaming at the mouth. I was in this locked pattern, like I was being hung. And it's like both of the practitioners came over, were working on me. I was trying to get out of this experience, but I broke my throat chakra wide open. I had a huge opening. And when those things happened, I felt held. At the same time, I was a little scared because I didn't understand it, but I always knew that I was being supported with exactly who I needed at the time that I needed it. And that curiosity just continued to blossom and continued to open up. And I would be in the right place at the right time, and I'd get the right offering. And there was a video. This is like the fast story. There was a video that I saw when I was like devouring every video that there was. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know where Jesus went. I wanted to know about Egypt. I wanted to know about everything. And I saw a video of this man who did ayahuasca. He was a hotelier, and he was addicted to everything you could ever think of. And they showed a video of him, and he got challenged to do plant medicine. He went to the jungle. He cured all of his addictions. He took all of his skills from his life and created this beautiful retreat center. And I don't know, I hadn't known anyone except for Kelly that did ayahuasca. It wasn't in my world. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but there was this resonance. And I knew that I was going to this place. I knew that I was doing plant medicine. I didn't know how I was going to go. I didn't know when I was going to go. I didn't have to figure it out, because at that point, I had another moment where I did trade with someone, and I was invited to go to a symposium down for their event in Florida. And I walked in this conference room, and the owner of the company was on the other side of the room. And I walked right over to him and I said, "Steve, it's me, Pamela. We've talked on the phone before, and I'm so happy to meet you." And he turns around, he looks at me, I look at him. This energy shoots through both of our foreheads, out our hearts. And we have this like, wah, 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 wah moment. And he said, "Do you feel that?" And I said, "I do." And I mean, it was so profound, just like the other things I just told you about, that it was unmistakable. Like there was something to discover there. So he reached out to me, and he said, "I don't know why I am drawn to reach out to you. I want to learn more about that experience." And he said, "I'm actually on my way to go do ayahuasca. I don't typically talk to work colleagues about this, but there's something about you." And I said, "Ayahuasca? Like this is how," I was like, "I'm going to do ayahuasca. I don't know when I'm going. I don't know. I'm going to this place." And he goes, "Pamela, I'm going there in November." Like no one's talking about this, Donna, in my business world. People are not talking about ayahuasca.
How many years ago is this?
This was probably 2018, because I went in 2019. And I kept hearing, we became very good friends, and I kept hearing, "He's going to invite you to go. He's going to ask you to go." And I said, "Okay, well, if he is, then it'll show itself." And so he said to me, "I'm being called to invite you. I am a part of this group, and one of the people who's on the board of this retreat center is part of our group. They're shutting it down. Typically there'd be like 100 people there, trying to relieve addiction and heal. And it's going to be 40 high conscious leaders that are there. And I would love for you to come. You have to find your way there." And these moments that I'm talking about, you have to say, like, you get to say yes or no. You get to listen to your soul speaking to you, and you get to make the choice of fear or love, right? You have to write the check. You have to take the time off of work and figure it out. You got to deal with the custody situation and the fact that you already had a vacation planned right before this one. And like, it doesn't work any which way that you look at it, but you know, you have to figure it out and bruise some people and, you know, do what you need to do. And I got a tax return check that was exactly what I needed for the trip. And instead of getting windows or a new HVAC, I was able to go to this
Spirit
experience.
meets us at the point of action, right?
Totally.
It's like you had that inner clarity, you had that inner knowing, and
Absolutely.
then everything's going to materialize around you to support the process.
Yes.
And this is what I think sometimes people don't realize, the importance of the inner alignment, the inner clarity, the inner knowing. And once you're clear inside, all the doors are going to swing wide open. Yes. You're going to walk through them. Yeah. And it's funny, like one of my questions for you was going to be about like, how do we help people navigate their awakening, right? Yeah. And back into the physical world. But I think there's this inner built-in compass, system, spirit that imparts that beautiful divine knowing and like you just freaking figure it out as you go.
Yeah, there is part of that for sure, because they'll tee it up all day long, and then, you know, like you said, there's this trust that you start flexing. You know, we're brought up in this world where we trust our elders, our parents, our religions, our structures. We trust all these things that are outside of us. But this journey, the spiritual journey, it's that trust turns inward, and you start trusting the knowings and start trusting your decisions and start trusting the nudges. And then that trust turns outward again, because you're trusting the universe and this collaboration and this co-creation that you are a part of. And it's like, you know, you move through these seasons of your journey, you move through these cycles, and you just have to continually know that you are being held in each part of it. And as you expand your intelligence, you're expanding your consciousness, your resonance, your vibration, and your frequency. And it's just a process. And no matter where you are on that journey, it's all different, but it's all important. Not one of it is more important than the other.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm passionate about supporting people in that way. And we'll talk about that later, but it's an interesting way to function because you change everything upside down. You have to sit in that space of knowing it's all being created for you, especially when you're sitting here meeting your CFO and he's putting these numbers in front of you and saying, are you meeting your Q1, Q2, Q3? What's going on? And you have to function from this 3D reality of numbers and processes and SOPs and all the things. And that's not how the universe works. It's like, there's part of that, but it's upside down. It's like you have to put the pieces in place, but then you got to trust and know there's things that you can't even imagine that are happening that you can never forecast, predict, put on your calendar, or schedule in a time slot. It's not like that.
Tracy is writing in the chat that she's having a really tough time right now. And Pamela, you just said, like, we really have to trust that it's happening for us and not to us.
Yeah.
And for somebody who's having a tough time right now and really is crossing that terrain of that inner trust and turning their attention from, you know, trying to get the answers from outside of us to sourcing the truth and the answers from inside of us. What is guidance that you can share right now for Tracy? And then we're going to come back because we're still going to go to that ayahuasca journey because I want to hear all about it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. I would ask you, Tracy, I can feel the anxiousness in your heart. And I would say to you to try to get clear on some of the pieces in your life that you may have not been really honestly looking at, and giving yourself the eye of discernment and love, and saying, and this is one of the things that the council who I work with and share messages of love, support, and guidance are frequently sharing and teaching. What are you taking on as your own? And what is it that is others that you're taking on? And what can you release with love And what can you do to start loving and putting that energy back towards yourself? And when we are spreading ourselves so thin to try to please other people or please our boss or please our parents or please our children or please our organizations and please, 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 and we're forgetting the higher part of who we are that needs also our attention. And we are able to use our discernment, and we are able to say these words of no, thank you. No, thank you. And that's honoring and loving yourself. And it's not to your detriment. Or you're not hurting anyone. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You are not here to serve anyone else. You are here to expand and understand who you are. And I don't know if that helped you, but that's what I just received.
Pamela, thank you so much. And there's so much of what you're sharing that is going to show up at the very end of our show in something that I call the celebration of love's alchemy. So it's just so divinely beautiful and orchestrated and unfolding.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are on your way to this ayahuasca journey.
Yes.
So I go with your story.
I know. And then when I think about me now, like there's been so many big, huge moves that I've made. When spirit tells me to do it, I do it. Like sell my house, like leverage my house, like all this big stuff.
Move to the jungle.
Yeah, totally. Go to the jungle, do a class 1 hallucinogenic by yourself. You're a newly divorced woman. You have your whole life to take care of, now 50% of everything. And yeah, go to another country by yourself and do this drug that's illegal like all over the world. And I just knew I just had to listen and go. And because I knew I was so held, and I knew I was with this beautiful group of people. But I had a moment when I was there. I had a moment where I had an out of body moment. I was like, what am I doing? I have these 2 beautiful children. They need their mother. Like I had the fear came over me. And then I had to talk myself down and say that, you know, that you are divinely held, and you know that you have a lot of fear to work through, and your fear is right now being triggered. And this is a large part of why you were held and taken, hand-placed in this beautiful group of humans through that week-long ayahuasca journey. I cleared so much of this life trauma, of past life trauma. I had realizations of relationship with my father, memories that were suppressed that came up, little snippets of rememberings of a shamanic soul retrieval I had done to that past life that matched. And like all of these threads were connected. Understandings about my family and the relationships inside of my family, understandings about me. I cleared the energy strands from my children, from trauma, from my life. I mean, amazing, amazing, amazing work. And it was incredibly challenging. Every time I went up to take that medicine, I was so scared because I had fear that needed to be released. There was this beautiful woman there, a morning star. She was almost like a mother to me. And I remember the first night we went to do this medicine, she was in front of me, and she allowed me to like just keep my hand on her back, and we walked up, and my legs were shaking, like from underneath me, my legs were shaking. And I was having this tug of war inside of myself. Like, I have to do this. You know, you have to do this. Everything has been aligned for you to do this. And then part of me is like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this. And it was at one point, Morningstar stepped aside, put me in front of her, and put her hands on my back. I could cry thinking about it, so that she could support me to take my first cup of medicine. By the time we were done, I had raised my frequency through clearing of these karmic ties and these infractures on my soul body. And I raised my frequency, raised my frequency, raised my frequency. We did a breathwork class at the end of the week. And I had this white light shoot through my third eye, fill my entire body up with my teeth were chattering. I felt love. My breath was taken away. And I heard your psychic abilities have enhanced. Everything from this moment forward will be different. And I lost my breath and I was crying. That's what happened. It was imperative that I go there now at that point so that I could come home. The timing is always divine. We don't understand it. The timing is always divine. And when I came back, I just continually sat in this space of reverence, of trust, being guided in love, and saying, I say to people that I work with, I want to co-create and work together to explore more of what that was. I want to understand more. And I would sit every morning, and these effervescent feminine divine beings would come in that were so beautiful and buoyant and loving. And I knew when they came in, there would be more of this past life stuff to go through. And I did it for months. I'd have to go through the death. I'd have to experience the emotions, the feelings. I recorded it and I drew it. I journaled about it. I'd have to actually go through the experience and then release it, release the emotions. And then my frequency would shift. And I did it over and over and over and over and over again until one day, I remember seeing this thread of energy, like a little cyclone coming down, and it was the Great Council. I didn't know it was them at the time. I had been having experiences with different guides, with different beings, with different beings is the good word, all different kinds of beings and energies. But the council came in into me, and I heard myself going, and it was their first like contact. And my frequency heightened, and they were able to like have this transfer of energy. And that was our first exchange. And that just grew. And I worked with it for months, for years. And the knowings and the visions and the downloads and the experiences and premonitions. And I used to say that I was a galactic hotel because I had so many different beings coming to visit me, to present themselves, to allow me to feel their vibration, to feel their language, I could see them and I would draw them. And it was like a crash course in all these things. And I didn't understand then why I had to go through it, but it's because I have to teach and help people now, because that's what's happening now in like rapid rates. Right.
All right. I have a logistical technical question.
Yes.
Is the Great Council of Light and the Divine Council of Light the same council?
I don't know the Divine Council of Light, but they sound similar. The Great Council of Light are super high frequency collective of divine beings. They're ancient creator beings, basically, is what they've told me. And they have come here with an expressed desire and interest in humanity at this moment in our planet at this time. And I have contracted as an incarnate aspect of them, made a commission, another space and time to come here now to do this work. And I'm finding other people there's lots of people that are connected to the council. So most likely, I would say, probably. And, it's, people don't understand it, and people want to ask me to tell them the secrets of the universe and, all these different things. My job is not that. My job is to help people heighten their frequency, to expand their consciousness, to be able to withstand and navigate this shift that's happening right now. It's my soul work.
So in that vein, when someone is really paralyzed with the fear, I had a gal at my Costa Rica retreat, I don't know, last year, who was so beautiful and disclosed to the whole group. Like, I just heard a voice in my head that said, "What are you doing? You got to get out of here right now."
Right.
And I mean, it was so courageous of her to even come forward with that. And we weren't doing plant medicine.
Right.
But give us some guidance on working through the fear. How do we work with our ego and our consciousness and that gripping part of ourselves that's in fight or flight that just says, "I'm out"?
Yeah.
Because there are so many people. I feel like, Pamela, this is why the world is in the chaos that it's in, because people aren't courageous enough to face their fear and get cracked open to the higher mysteries of the universe and this infinite intelligence that is everywhere present.
Yeah. I so understand everything you're saying. And I want everyone to know that they don't have to have, what they need to have is compassion, love, and patience for themselves, and understand that they are on a unique journey and no one's journey is the same. Number one, it's so important that you understand that. Number two, people don't understand why they have this fear in their life. Or they don't understand the greater concept of the majority of what's in their life, right? And so they're resonating in fear. So they can apply it to anything, but it can be fear. It's because of the level of frequency that they're carrying. And fear makes you have a lower and lower frequency. And the guides want you, very basic stuff here, is to understand frequency. They don't understand frequency. People don't understand frequency. They don't understand that they're vibratory beings. They don't understand that there's negative frequency being shoved in their face all day long, every day, messaging, everything. And so when they can pluck themselves out conceptually and do what I said when I was talking to that person earlier, you're taking a bird's eye view of yourself and you're saying, what is it that I am doing during my days? Why do I have this level of fear inside of me? I want to understand fear. What makes fear in my life? Why? If you have to write it down, write it down. But the guides talk about a very basic rudimentary like exercise to help you understand frequency if you don't understand it. Think about a time in your life when you were a child where you had and experienced such extreme joy and love. How does that feel? It feels amazing. It feels vast, beautiful, wonderful. You get chills down the back of your arms and your neck and the top of your head, and it makes you smile. You feel love inside of your heart. On a scale of 1 to 10, that bad boy gets a 10, right? Now think about an experience when you were a child that felt scary, fearful, you were afraid, you cower, you recede, you withdraw. You're not smiling anymore. You're constricted. That's a 1. So now go through even just one day, measuring your experiences, your interactions, your nutrition, your pastimes, everything that you are doing. What is the sum of that day? What is the sum of that experience? Let's aim to raise it. Any of it, 1 degree, 1 turn of the dial, 1 tiny thing. You continually do that. You're flexing that tool and you are allowing yourself to learn. It's experiential learning and embodiment right now.
And how does number 1, bringing more patience, love, and compassion to ourselves, how does that impact our frequency?
Right. If we understand it's empathic nature for ourselves. It's compassion and understanding for ourselves. And maybe with that comes forgiveness. Ooh, the biggest releaser of all, right? There's so many things that we don't understand when we're on this journey. We don't understand it. My father, releasing my resentment for him and forgiving him, that changed everything in my life. When you're holding on to that resentment, you're holding that frequency on you're doing nothing but hurting yourself. These are the things I'm talking about. Get really clear on what's going on in your life. Who can I say does not serve my experience, my fear level, my vibration any longer? Goodbye. I wish you well. I love you. Goodbye. It's not for me right now. Whether it's romantic, whether it's even family, you have to really, really consider how you approach these experiences and how much time you are in charge. You are in charge. And you get to make these choices and you get to clear up these things. Do you need to sit on social and comment and engage and get yourself and your energy all entwined in these never-ending comment streams? No, you don't. The fact is you do not. You have a choice to turn that off, to serve yourself. Get your butt outside and walk in nature. Do something that makes you happy, that brings you joy. Play your instrument, paint, go run, do yoga, cook, garden, whatever all those things are. And that's what I'm saying, Donna, like you get to change that dial incrementally, tinily. And before you know it, you've changed a lot. You're able to look with a different frequency at the level of fear that you have, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And people are so disassociated from their own power because they are plugged into all of these external forces that are bearing down on their attention, controlling who we are to be, what we are to be, what we are to believe. So you've said it multiple times, and it's the celebration of Love's Alchemy today. Conscious choice. It is our choice. We are empowered to choose for our own lives.
Correct.
To choose where our attention goes, to choose where we are placing our energy and our life force, and whether we are plugging into fear or whether we are channeling the grace of love.
Yeah. And listening to our soul. You get every morning a chance to say, what does my soul want me to know? If you don't want to use soul, what does the higher aspect of myself, the highest aspect of myself, want me to know? If you don't want to use that, say, choose a grandparent that you love that's deceased. What does my grandmother, who loves me so much in this non-physical way, what does she want me to know? I mean, do what works for you. Find those tools that work for you. And I will tell you, once you start doing this, you start changing your life. That's the outcome, right? And your life starts getting better. And your friends start improving, your interactions start improving, your health starts improving, your pastimes start being more meaningful, then your work starts to change and you get to make choices around that. Your relationship starts to change. I mean, I'm in the highest frequency vibration of a relationship I've ever had in my entire life. And we work to continually renew that and work on that. And it's not like you get to cross a finish line and you're like, woohoo, I'm enlightened and, life is great. It's grand. It's like you get these opportunities when your perspective changes to create and to co-create what you want in a relationship, what you want in a work relationship, what you want your work to be. And everything starts, you get to a point where everything has to have purpose for you. It's just like an effect. It's like an after effect of it all. I see a question.
There's a specific question here from Labyrinthia Criterion. What energies, and I'm going to say / frequencies, did you have to let go of when you were younger to embody where you are now?
I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it.
I love that you're making this point, right? Like there is no grand destination that we're going to arrive to. And this is a fallacy that people have, like, I'm going to become awakened or enlightened. Well, there's another corner. You're going to take another lap around the spiral. And as long as we're in these human bodies, we're going to continue to transmute and to excavate the misunderstandings and the misinterpretations so that we can align even further with the truth of who we really are.
Yeah.
So what are some of what you had to let go of?
Yeah. And it's this journey is as you're changing in each of these seasons in your spiritual life, different parts of that let go. So the most impactful ones, whatever is the most important one that you need to work on at that point will present itself. So I still work on body image. It is so hard for me. There were lots of things instilled in me when I was young about how I look, about my body shape, about the way that my body looks, and hiding my body was like a thing growing up, and having shame around my body was a thing growing up. And I'm going to be 56 and I still work on that. Right. And I have a man who loves every part of me, no matter wrinkles, dents, dimple, whatever it is. And I still have to, even hearing him, an outside party, tell me that I'm beautiful, I am still working to allow myself to receive that. This is the truth. This is completely honest and authentic. When I was a child, I was stifled a lot with my voice and I wasn't able to speak my truth. And I receded a lot. I didn't feel safe in my home. And there were certain times I did and certain times I didn't. So I didn't get that 100%. And I still am struggling with performance and getting out on stage. And I've been pushing myself since I was a kid to get out on stage, to speak in front of people, to sing in front of people, and now I'm in a totally different industry and have to do things in a whole different way. And I push myself to continually do it. When I say it doesn't end, I mean, it just changes. It gets more intentional. It gets deeper. And as we evolve, and I'm at a point now where I am able to work on releasing this one aspect of myself, this angry little young girl. I was working on her last weekend with my shaman and Kate May. And so it doesn't just dissipate and go away. I don't know that anybody can claim that. I know from my experience, it's not that. It's a continual journey. And I'm able to love my beloved and mirror him and hold space for him in the same exact way, where he deals with abandonment issues and he deals with those sorts of things. So when you're in these relationships that get higher and better as you travel through these seasons, you're still doing the work. You're doing it in different ways. I don't hear you. There you are.
We shared with our viewers that we were going to talk a little bit about how to navigate our spiritual awakening in the boardroom.
Oh, yeah.
And we are already coming close to our show, but I really want to invite your wisdom around this.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we start waking up to our soul's calling and the love in our heart, it becomes more difficult to navigate the environments that may not be in alignment with that.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
Ooh, baby. It's a good one. I've been doing it for so long. I just sold my business to my business partner, and I just moved fully into spirit calling Jan 1 this year. I will tell you, thank you so much. It was a big deal.
It's a big deal. I did it. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Golden handcuffs.
Yes,
big deal.
It's such a big deal. But thank you, Donna. But as I said before, you know, in 2012, I didn't even understand all of this, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. I had one client who was reading the same book I was, Many Lives, Many Masters. And so I found one person I could share this stuff with. I couldn't go into a client meeting. I couldn't go into a boardroom. No one was standing around the water cooler talking about all of this stuff. When you felt a nudge or a wink, or you felt someone's frequency, you tried to make this little like crack in the conversation to see reception, to see if they were receptive. But you know what I learned? And you have to journey through this. You want to share it with the rooftop. You want to scream it from the mountains. You want everybody to know when you start having these realizations. So you start doing that. And then you learn when to pull back, and you learn the spaces and the places and the people and the times. And the only way you can do that is by experiencing it. And then you get to a point where you say, it doesn't matter that I share any of this. What matters is my presence and how I show up. I walk in a room, and this is just who I am, and I'm vibrating right now. When I walk in a room, I don't know, I've been an entrepreneur for 26 plus years. People migrate to me. They want to know who I am, what I have to say. I don't have to open my mouth and say a word. They start talking to me. They want to know what I do. Then they want to hear me talk. And that's a state of being. That's your presence. So you start to learn how to show up. You start to understand the universe puts the right people in front of you. I networked like a badass, ran 2 companies for the last 3 years. I was in business development and CEO at my other job, and I was doing everything in this business. I was networking in the morning, doing meetings all day long, going to network things at night. Everyone's talking to me about spirituality, and I didn't open my mouth. So when it's right, when the moment is there, you'll feel into it. You'll ask an inquisitive, you'll say something. And if it opens it up, it will let people talk to you. Just be in your presence and don't judge, because everybody's in a different place in their spiritual awakening. Everyone is in a totally different thing. And I will tell you this, when you start to feel dissonance with your work, which will happen if it's not feeding your soul, you have to look at it and you have to say, I'm not going to make this a fight. What I'm going to do is leverage what I have. I have a company that is paying my bills, that is allowing me to have my lifestyle, which is allowing me to fund the things that are my passion and my dream that support others. And I know through divine trust and knowing that I will be taken care of. And when the time is right, it will be downstream and not up. And I don't have to let go of a business to be able to move into something fully. You don't have to listen to all of that. That's somebody else's realization of their reality. You will be held, and you will know exactly when to leave at exactly the right time, because that's how it works. That's how it works. You're not supposed to suffer. You're supposed to be in abundance. You're supposed to have wealth and abundance. You're supposed to have all of that. We put the restrictions on us that we're not. If you need to have evolved enterprise and purpose-driven work, then you'll find it. You'll ask the universe for it. If you need to find that work, then you will find it. If it's in addition to what you do, then do it. Open up the door to allow it to find you. I led my marketing and branding firm. I worked with CEOs and visionary entrepreneurs and organizations my entire career. And I used my creative intuitiveness to tap into their vision. But when my psychic abilities and all of that started, I just leveraged it. I didn't speak it really loudly, but I just used it to my advantage. And that's what it is. You're using it to your advantage. You got all your tools.
Pamela, founder of Spirit Calling, where can we find more information about you and learn more about your work and how you're supporting this mass global transformation of awakening that's taking place on the planet at this time?
Thank you for asking. So my community is spirit-calling.com. I have built a ladder for people at every stage of their spiritual awakening. So from the scratchers who are just starting to the high capacity visionary entrepreneurs that need to combine this divine wisdom with the CEO support that I offer. If you go to spirit-calling.com/spiritual ambition, I have some free downloads for you, and you can find out more about all my work. So go there, spirit-calling.com/spiritual ambition. And then my YouTube, all of my socials are Spirit Calling Pamela. So go and check it out and see. I see something from my community member, Shantae. It's so cute, Shantae. She's so sweet.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Pamela.
You're welcome. I loved it. It was awesome.
A breath of fresh air.
Thank
you. It's just so lovely to be in your presence and feel your frequency. We're just going to close our space together. So stay with us. Let's just close our eyes, everyone, and just placing our attention on our heart space, sending a blessing of gratitude for all of the wisdom that was shared here today by Pamela Downs, her journey of transformation and being the living example of what is possible for all of us. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are grateful and we say thank you. I'm Donna Bond. This is Spiritual Ambition. We are closing the show with love, in love, for love, by love, as love. Thank you.